The rain started just after sunset, slow at first like a warning, then steady, relentless, turning the streets into mirrors of flickering headlights and blurred reflections. I had just locked the front door of my small apartment when I heard hurried footsteps behind me. "Wait," she called out. I turned, surprised. A woman stood a few feet away, drenched, her hair clinging to her face, her jacket darkened by rain. She looked like she had been walking for miles, maybe longer. "I'm sorry," she said, catching her breath. "I know this is strange, but can we stay here tonight?" I blinked, unsure if I had heard her right. "We?" She hesitated, glancing behind her toward the empty street. "Just me, I mean. I meant, can I stay here tonight?" The streetlight above us flickered, casting her face in uneven light. There was something in her eyes I couldn't place. Not fear exactly, but something close to it. Urgency, maybe, or desperation. "I only have one bed," I said, the words coming out more awkwardly than I intended. "That's fine," she replied quickly. "I'll take the floor, I don't have anywhere else to go." I should have said no. Every instinct told me this was a bad idea. You don't let strangers into your home, especially not at night. Especially not when they appear out of nowhere asking for shelter. But there was something about her. Not just the rain or the way she was shivering. It was the way she looked at me, like she had already run out of options. I unlocked the door. "Just for tonight," I said. She nodded, relief washing over her face. "Thank you." Inside, the apartment was warm but dim. I flipped on a lamp, the soft yellow light filling the room. She stepped in carefully, as if afraid she might break something just by being there. "Bathroom's down the hall," I said. "You can grab a towel." "Thank you," she repeated, her voice quieter now. While she disappeared down the hallway, I stood in the living room, wondering what I had just done. My place wasn't much. A couch, a small kitchen, a narrow hallway leading to a single bedroom. It wasn't built for guests, especially unexpected ones. The sound of water dripping echoed faintly from the bathroom. I walked to the kitchen and poured 2 glasses of water, setting them on the table. My hands felt strangely tense. When she came back, her hair was damp but no longer dripping, and she had wrapped the towel loosely around her shoulders. Without the rain masking her, I could see her more clearly now. She looked younger than I first thought, maybe mid-20s, though her eyes carried something older. "I'm Ethan," I said. "Lena," she replied. She sat down slowly, like she was testing whether the chair would hold her. I pushed one of the glasses toward her. "Thanks." We sat in silence for a moment, the kind that isn't comfortable but isn't entirely awkward either. The rain outside grew louder, tapping against the windows like impatient fingers. "You live alone?" she asked. "Yeah." She nodded, as if confirming something to herself. "Are you in trouble?" I asked, careful with my words. Her fingers tightened slightly around the glass. "Not the kind you're thinking." That doesn't really answer anything. A faint smile flickered across her face. "I know, it's complicated." I leaned back in my chair. "You ran from something." She looked up at me, surprised. "Why do you say that?" "You looked over your shoulder when you asked to come in." For a moment she said nothing. Then she exhaled slowly. "Maybe I did." "Is someone looking for you?" She hesitated again, longer this time. "Not in a way that would put you in danger." "That's not very reassuring." Her eyes softened. I wouldn't have asked if I thought it would. There it was again. That strange certainty in her voice, like she had already weighed the risks for both of us. I nodded, though I wasn't sure why. "You can take the bed," I said after a moment. "I'll sleep on the couch." Her head shook immediately. "No, I can't take your bed. It's not a big deal." "It is to me." We looked at each other, both unwilling to back down. Finally, she sighed. "Fine, we share it." "That's not what I meant." "I know," she said, a small, almost teasing smile forming. "But it solves the problem, doesn't it?" I hesitated, then laughed softly despite myself. "You're pretty bold for someone asking a stranger for shelter." "You let me in," she replied. "That makes you bold, too." There was something disarming about her, something that made it hard to hold on to caution. "All right," I said. "We share it." The bedroom felt smaller with someone else in it. The bed, which had always been enough for me, suddenly seemed too narrow, too intimate. She sat on the edge, her hands resting in her lap. "Thank you," she said again, more softly this time. "You've said that already." "I know, it just matters." I nodded, not knowing what else to say. We lay down on opposite sides, leaving as much space between us as possible. The silence returned, heavier now in the dark. "Ethan," she whispered after a while. "Yeah? Do you ever feel like your life isn't really yours?" I turned my head slightly, though I could barely see her. "Sometimes. Like you're just following a path someone else decided for you, more often than I'd like." She was quiet for a moment. "I left tonight because of that." I frowned slightly. "You left your life?" "I left the version of it that wasn't mine." Her words hung in the air, heavy and uncertain. "Where were you supposed to be?" I asked. She hesitated. "Married." I blinked in the darkness. "You ran away from your wedding?" A soft, almost bitter laugh escaped her. "Something like that." "That's not something people usually something like." I was standing there, she continued, her voice trembling slightly. Everyone was watching, smiling, waiting, and I realized I couldn't breathe. Not because of nerves. Because I knew if I said yes, I'd be trapped in a life I didn't choose. "So you left." I walked out. Didn't even explain. I just kept walking, and ended up here. "Yeah." I let out a slow breath. "That's a hell of a night." She didn't respond immediately. When she did, her voice was softer. "Do you think I'm selfish?" I thought about it. About the image of her standing at an altar. About the people she left behind. "I think you were honest," I said. "And honesty usually comes with a cost." She turned slightly toward me. I could feel the shift in the mattress. "I didn't expect someone to understand that," she said. "I don't know if I fully do," I admitted. "But I get the feeling." Silence settled again, but this time it felt different. Less tense. More shared. After a while, I felt her hand brush against mine, hesitant at first, then still. I didn't pull away. "Is that okay?" she whispered. "Yeah." Her fingers relaxed slightly, as if she had been holding her breath. Outside, the rain began to soften. "I don't want to go back," she said quietly. "You don't have to tonight." "What about tomorrow?" I didn't have an answer for that. But for some reason I said, "We'll figure it out." She squeezed my hand gently. At some point we fell asleep like that. Two strangers, connected by nothing but a shared moment and the quiet understanding of what it means to feel lost. When I woke up, the rain had stopped. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, soft and calm. The other side of the bed was empty. I sat up quickly, my heart racing. "Lena?" No answer. I got up, checking the living room, the kitchen. The apartment was silent. Then I noticed it. A small piece of paper on the table. I picked it up, my hand suddenly unsteady. "Thank you for giving me a place to breathe when I needed it most. You reminded me that kindness still exists in the world, and that maybe I can be brave enough to create a life that feels like mine. I don't know where I'm going yet. But for the first time, that doesn't scare me. I hope you find your own way too." I read it twice, then a third time. There was no number. No way to find her. Just a memory. I stood there for a long time, the quiet of the apartment pressing in around me. Everything looked the same, but something felt different. Like a small shift had taken place. Like a door I didn't know existed had been opened. I walked to the window and looked out at the street, now washed clean by the rain. For the first time in a long while, I felt something I couldn't quite name. Not certainty, not even hope, but possibility, and somehow that was enough.